the aggression of, let's say, the Israeli occupation army.
So
You condemn the act of the killing itself.
Let's
You condemn that act?
Let's just be very clear. Of course, we would condemn the death. The death of any American citizen is heartbreaking. But let's be just very precise and clear that I am not going to speculate on what transpired on Friday, as those facts and those processes are still being determined and adjudicated, and we're going to let that process play out. It is troubling. It is tragic, and it certainly there is a responsibility here to share as much information as possible, so that Miss IG's family has the most appropriate accounting of what exactly transpired and what happened here. But Saeed, there is a process, and I'm just not going to get ahead of that. And I will, I'm not going to speak on behalf of our partners in Israel.
So actually condemn the act of the killing, the murder of an American citizen?
Of course, Saeed. The murder of any American citizen we would take issue with.
Okay. So let me just follow up. In Beta, there are protests in Beta every day. And in fact, 14 have been killed in the last maybe 12 months or so in Beta. It's a very peaceful protest. There's never any stones thrown out and so on. There are actual eyewitnesses that saw exactly what happened. So do you suspect that maybe there's some entity or some other person that have fired the shot other than an Israeli soldier?
Zaid, I think you and other colleagues, of course, this is your briefing. You can ask as many questions as you would like. You can ask the same questions as many times if you would like. That's not going to change my answer, which is that, one, around the specifics of what transpired, important work is continuing to being done to ascertain what exactly happened, and we are going to let that process play out. As I've said, as it relates to making those findings public, we expect that to happen as soon as possible. We expect that process to be thorough, transparent, and it to be as robust as it can be. But beyond that, I'm just not going to speculate from up here what happened or why or any of the reasoning side. As I said to Rabia, eyewitness accounts are, of course, helpful, key, informative to all of this, but there is a process in place, and we will let that process play out.
So would you rely on the eyewitness accounts, or you just rely on the Israeli?
I'm not going to speak to the process.
That's fine. I just want to take.
And again, I just want to reiterate again that we are working closely to ascertain the facts, but there is not a State Department-led investigation that is going on as it relates to
because
this.
The record, Vedant, is really quite abysmal, and when it comes to Israel investigating itself on the killing of Americans. I mean, I can take you back to March 16, 2003, when Rachel Corrie, a Jewish American, was killed by a bulldozer, in plain sight of everybody, and the Israelis only came back with an answer in 2012, and it was just like nothing there answer kind of a thing. And we saw this happen with Omar Assad. We saw this happen with Shireen Abu Akleh when it was killed. And you guys came out on July 4th, 2022 on a holiday, and you said that the intention was not there. So what guarantee do we have that this particular investigation that saw the murder of a 26-year-old American, Aisha Noor Egi, so we saw her murder. Everybody, there are a lot of accounts and so on. What guarantee do you have that this will be carried out, the investigation will be carried out thoroughly, fairly, transparently, and would lead to the proper result as far as you're concerned?
I'm not going to color any of these findings until we see them. So I will just leave it at that, and not going to get ahead of the process here.
So do we have? I mean, I'm sorry, but let me just. Do we have any evidence from the past that Israel actually comes through on these investigations?
I will let the IDF and the Israeli government speak to their own accountability processes. I'm not going to get into that, but at every possible measure we reiterate the reminder that civilian death need to be minimized, not just in Gaza,
Right.
but also when actions are being conducted in the West Bank, that it is critical and vital to peace and stability in the region, taking that moral and strategic imperative.
My last thing on this, I mean, when it comes to the Israeli killing of Americans, Americans that are being killed by Israel and their families, they feel that these Americans are the children of a lesser God because Israel is committing the crime, Israel is committing the murder. Is that true?
It's not. Look,
It's not true.
Said, I'm not sure I fully understand your
I
question.
mean, there are less American than, let's say, when Israel commits, it is really the identity of the killer rather than the identity of the killed, so to speak.
So, again, I'm not sure I fully comprehend what you're asking, but let me just be pretty clear about this. In this context, in any context, to this government, to this State Department, an American citizen is an American citizen. A blue passport holder is a blue passport holder. Whether they are a Palestinian American citizen, a Turkish American citizen, an Israeli American citizen, the front part of that that nomenclature is not nearly as important to us as the second half, and the fact that an American citizen is an American citizen, and we take this and we take the safety and security of American citizens incredibly seriously. It is. We spend a lot of time up here talking about foreign policy priorities and national security and our hopes for the world when it comes to foreign policy priorities. But I will tell you that for Secretary Blinken, for President Biden, there is nothing more important than the safety and security of American citizens.
So Israel gets no exceptionalism.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Vedant.
Yeah.